I'm revved up, ready to go. Hope you are too. This is a special uh solar eclipse edition, Monday edition. It's a Monday. Solar eclipse is going on. In fact, probably right about now is I think here in my neck of the woods, I'm in the Pacific Northwest. It's only going to be like 25%. I think I'll run up and I went up a minute ago and I'm still seeing spot. Don't look straight at the sun. And what do? I walk straight out and I look straight up at the sun. Don't do that. But anyways, it's kind of cool. These don't happen very often. And I'm reminded of back in 2017. And is it just me, or every time there's an eclipse, they say something like, this will be the last eclipse we'll see in 40 years. And then like 2 years later, there's another eclipse. So I feel like either we're not really sure how often they happen, or maybe I'm just not paying it. Maybe it's a me problem. It probably is. But I can remember like in school running out at 10 years old watching an eclipse, and the teachers were like, yeah, you'll never see another one in your lifetime. Well, I've seen like 8 since then. So it's cool. Don't get me wrong. Solar eclipses are cool. But if you remember back in 2017, we happened to be vacationing in Oregon and we're on our way back. And in Oregon, there's a little town in Oregon that was supposed to be like one of the best spots in North America to view the eclipse. And all the stops were out. I mean, there was people coming in RVs from everywhere to watch the eclipse in Oregon. And I mean, they're cool. I don't know that I'd drive 3 days to see it, but anyways, it was on this date. No, not on this date. It was on the last big eclipse, August of 2017, at the Moonstock Festival. Remember that? In Carterville, Illinois. Ozzy planned his set to happen during the eclipse. And during the song Bark at the Moon, everything went dark. And you can go on YouTube and watch this. And the fan video that I watch, he pans up and you see the eclipse as they're playing Bark at the Moon. It's pretty cool. I mean, and the eclipse was over by this time the song was over. So it didn't last that long, but it's kind of cool. So hopefully your kids at school are able to go out and watch it safely, right? You cut the little hole in the cardboard box and you watch it, or you know what? Just watch a video of it. I mean, that's okay too. This was cool, guys. I just watched this morning and it was cool. Sammy Hagar was on CMT and he paid tribute to his dear friend, Toby Keith. Toby Keith, of course, passed away in February. He was 62 years old after a battle with stomach cancer. And Sammy got up and played Toby's hit with Toby's band, I Love This Bar. Sammy said, I was so worried that I wasn't going to make it through the performance emotionally. It was hard for me working up to it. When I hit the stage with Toby's wonderful band that I played with many times over the years, the audience, energy, enthusiasm, and love that filled that building, turned every tear of sadness into joy, I think is what it says. But it was cool. And, here's the thing. I got to be careful when I say this. Modern country music sucks. Most of it. Okay. I mean, I got to be careful when I say that. I do think some of the best musicians in the world are in Nashville, right? But Nashville has become the McDonald's of the country music machine, in that they just churn out this drivel that is as bad as the pop drivel, maybe even worse in some ways. But I think the spirit of rock and roll is to be found more in Nashville than just about anywhere else these days. I mean, many of my favorite rock artists have relocated to Nashville. It's Music City, right? That's where the work is. So Toby Keith, yeah, he was a country artist, but he was a rocker, dude. And a lot of those, there's that intersection between a lot of rock and roll artists and a lot of country artists. And I think there's a reason for that. If you were a Toby Keith coming up in the 90s. Rock music was kind of going down the toilet. Grunge was kind of, I don't want to say grunge took it in the toilet, but if you were a rocker and you wanted to play rock and roll with guitar solos and with good crunchy guitars, well, guess what? You had a better shot of doing that in Nashville than anywhere else, because we were getting into all the grunge, the super heavy non-melodic rock. Sorry, I'm going to say it. A lot of that stuff sucked. Okay. The thing that the 80s had going for it was melody. Yeah, you can talk about hair bands, you can talk about all that, but we still knew how to write hooks and write melodies and play great melodic rock. Grunge kind of ruined that. And much of the rock that came, there are exceptions, but in general, I think the rock and roll spirit for a guy that wants to play good melodic rock, the only place you could do that was country in a lot of ways. Sad to say. And now country's even slid further in the toilet. I can't even listen to country radio, but Toby Keith, I've seen Toby Keith live. It was an awesome show. His band played Stranglehold, and Toby Keith came out and sang Stranglehold. And it was one of the most rocking shows I've seen in 20 years. And it was a country artist. I'm all over the place. I probably offended half my audience right now. So anyways, it was cool to see Sammy, a rock artist, paying tribute to his friend Toby Keith, a country artist, by playing one of Toby's songs. It was good to see. Speaking of Sammy, we know that his Best of All Worlds tour is about to kick off. In July, they'll launch the Van Halen Focus Tour featuring guitarist and Chickenfoot bandmate Joe Satriani, bassist Michael Anthony, drummer Jason Bonham, and Hagar's own Circle crew, Sammy Hagar and the Circle. So when they say Circle crew, does that mean that Vic Johnson will be there? I bet he is. I bet Vic is there too. So you'll have Joe Satriani there, but I bet Vic is there too. I hope. Vic's a phenomenal guitar player, and they're both bald. Let's just point that out. What would be cooler than two bald-headed guitar players? A white guy and a black guy, both bald. How cool is that? I hope that happens. Sammy says, quote, "We're going to kind of just really go heavy on Van Halen. We're going to play 4 or 5 of Sammy's greatest hits, One Way to Rock, Heavy Metal, I Can't Drive 55, Moss Tequila, songs you've got to play, one Montrose song, a Chickenfoot song, and a whole lot of Van Halen, the whole catalog. I mean, we're going to go back into the early years for 3 or 4 songs, sprinkle them in there, because I'm calling it not just the Best of All Worlds tour. I'm calling it the Thank You tour. For me, it's thank you. Thank you, Eddie. Thank you to the fans. Thank you for this wonderful life, being able to do this, because I don't know how much longer I can do it." Sammy, I think, is 76. Still sounds pretty dang good for a 76-year-old. Here's some sad news. CJ Snare, the singer who came to prominence fronting the hard rock group Firehouse, died Friday at the age of 64. Finally found a love of a lifetime. That was Firehouse, wasn't it? I think so. They had a few other songs. Details of the vocalist's death, which reportedly followed a long battle with cancer. Doggone cancer. Cancer sucks. Slowly began spreading online over the weekend as the world learned of Snare's passing. Many fellow rock stars took to social media to pay their respects. Night Ranger frontman Jack Blade said he was heartsick with the news, adding that he had wonderful memories of his band touring with Firehouse. CJ's sweet soul and great smile always brightened up the day, no matter what was happening, Blades noted, along with a message for Snare to sing it out loud, or sing it loud in the stars. And Poison singer Bret Michaels said he's a great guy, great vocalist, and a friend who will forever be missed. So our condolences to the friends and family and band of CJ Snare of Firehouse. We got some Foreigner news. Now, Foreigner, Every indication is they will finally make it into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Let's take a minute to dump on the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, shall we? Do you realize that the Go-Go's and Green Day and Nina Simone went into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame before Foreigner? It's all you got to know. All you need to know about the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I would use them for toilet paper, but I don't want it to touch my bottom. Okay. The Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is a complete joke. And of course, Boston isn't in. Bad Company isn't in. Kansas isn't in. Styx isn't in. REO Speedwagon isn't. I mean, there's tons that aren't in. I don't think Iron Maiden's in. Iron Maiden is not in. I'm going to go out and stare straight at the eclipse. I'm going to do it. Okay. Lou Gramm. The good news is Foreigner looks like they're going to make it into the stupid Rock and Roll Hall of Dung this year. Okay. But you know, there are hurt feelings between Lou Gramm and Mick Jones. Were you aware of this? I wasn't aware of this. How did I miss this? So the only number one song of all the top 10 hits, massively successful multi-platinum career that Foreigner had, the only number one song they had was I Want to Know What Love Is. That song. Not my favorite Foreigner song, but it is a beautiful song. And I have to say, when I saw them live back in September, it was a great moment when they sang that song. It sounded great. The crowd was all into it. It was wonderful. Well, here's the story. Lou claims that he and Mick worked together writing that song. It's a massive hit, number one song, one of the biggest hits of the 80s, right? And just one of the best ballads, beautiful song of all time. And Lou says that they worked together on it, spent a lot of time on it, and yet Mick did not give Lou any writing credits. So Lou Gramm does not make any money publishing from that song. So as you can imagine, he's not happy about that. And he still kind of holds a grudge. He says, it's very difficult because we worked our tails off together writing most of those songs. This is his interview with VPR Rocks. And I think we were the focal part of the band too. So the live show was very important and stuff. And I thought we had a very good relationship during most of those years. But after that, I Want to Know What Love Is, meaning the disagreement. After that happened, it was different. He said they all knew that it was going to be a big hit. They all knew as soon as they wrote it, recorded it, it was going to be a big hit. Yet, he says he made significant contributions to the song, yet received zero credit due to Jones's greed. He said, we barely spoke to each other on tour even. I knew that what he did to me, he was wrong and he was dishonest. And he made a fortune and I made nothing. And I got no credit from my peers or anybody. It's that Mick Jones magic touch. Look, he did it again. I want to know what love is. So yeah, there's some bitterness there. Now, despite this, Lou says he expects to perform with Foreigner if the band is inducted at the Hall this year. But that doesn't mean that their relationship will be mended, right? He's still, think of a song of that magnitude. Think of the money that Mick Jones has made from that. And if Lou's account is correct, yeah, he got gypped out of millions of dollars. Okay. Lou says, quote, I'm not sure what to expect. I mean, I'll be friendly and cordial, but I'm not going to be like, I found my long lost brother or anything. More Lou Gramm news. He was speaking to Lee Ritchie. I'm not sure who Lee Ritchie is, but speaking to Lee Ritchie, he's talking about his retirement plans. And he says, I've been doing it, for almost 50 years. And I would like to turn my attention to my family and my muscle cars and just enjoy myself, knowing that when I lay down at night, it'll be in my own bed. Then he says, this is going to be it. I've been putting it off and putting it off, and I still enjoy performing. But when you've been doing it for as long as I have, the travel is the worst. It really takes its toll, and that's a sign that you're getting old. And I've heard multiple musicians say they would perform for free. When they go on tour, they're performing for free. They're getting paid for the travel because the 2 hours they're on stage, they love. That's fun. And that's why it's so hard to give up the touring, because they like that part. But the hard part, what's hard on your body, on your mind, on your relationships, on your diet, right? On your health, is the travel part. And the older you get, absolutely, the harder it gets. Now, this is cool. He's talking about his set list for this final solo tour that he's doing. He said, it's a good blend of songs from my 2 solo albums and the Shadow King album as well. And some of the big hits, some of the things I've been involved in writing with Mick, Foreigner. We do a bunch of Foreigner songs too. And I've got to tell you that between the two musics, meaning his solo stuff and the Foreigner stuff, it brings the house down. Now, I want to throw this out because, guys, I completely missed it when it happened the first time, but I've gone back since then and listened to the Shadow King album. Are you familiar with Shadow King? Shadow King was late 80s, early 90s. It was before Lou, in the mid 90s, was when he had his medical problem, almost died, right? And it kind of took him out of the game for like 10 years. It's a tumor. I think he had a tumor. But anyways, before that happened, so when he was still in good physical shape, he did this Shadow King album with Vivian Campbell was the guitar player. Were you even aware of this? So this was after Vivian left Whitesnake, excuse me, but before Def Leppard. So this is late 80s. Guys, the Shadow King album is awesome. Why wasn't it a big hit? Probably the G word, grunge, probably. Because this would have been in that melodic hard rock vein. Think of the time Damn Yankees had come out, right? Late 80s, 1990 time frame. This album just kind of snuck through. I never heard it, never knew a thing about it until 20 years later when I heard about it and went back and listened, and it's awesome. And you can stream it. Shadow King. Imagine Lou Gramm with Vivian Campbell on guitars. I mean, yeah. You should check it out. We've even got more about Lou Gramm coming up in this email. So I got an email. Guys, email me, classicguitarrock@mail.com. I'd love to hear from you. Good stuff, bad stuff, insults. I take it all and I'll read them. Okay. This says, hey, Jeremy, I listened to the radio station over the weekend. For the most part, I really liked it. But then I heard you play a Blondie song. And then I heard you play Lou Gramm's Just Between You and Me. Then he has a LOL. He says, do you consider those classic rock? Jacob B. The name of the radio station and the name of the podcast and the name of my empire is not classic rock. It's classic guitar rock. What, my friends, is classic guitar rock? Classic guitar rock is great music that has guitars in it. Would you hear Blondie on a classic rock station? Probably not. But guess what? You will on the classic guitar rock station because Blondie is awesome. And there's guitars in it. Oh, and by the way, Clem Burke is one of the best drummers ever. So yeah, Blondie is going to get played on classic guitar rock. Maybe not your neighborhood classic rock station, but I ain't a classic rock station. I'm a classic guitar rock station. Put that in your pipe and smoke it. I'm kidding, Jacob. Thanks for the email. Same with Lou Gramm, Just Between You and Me. It's a mellow song. It's an adult contemporary song that I like. And guess what? I'm the program director. I play whatever I want. And it's got a guitar in it. So there. And you know what else I play? I just added some songs last night to the rotation. Midnight Oil. Yeah, because guess what? There's guitars in it, and I like it. That's the way it works. Now, are you going to hear the classic rock songs you expect to hear? Oh, yeah. You're going to hear that. You're going to hear Led Zeppelin. You know what I heard playing this morning at 9 a.m. my time? Rhyme of the Ancient Mariner. How many classic rock stations are going to hear? You're going to hear Rhyme of the Ancient Mariner. And then, by the way, you're going to go into a Blondie song. It ain't going to happen because they aren't classic guitar rock. They're classic rock. I hope I clarified that, settled everything. And sorry, Jacob, I didn't mean to unload on you, but we're changing the hearts and minds here. We're changing hearts and minds. We're not classic rock. We're classic guitar rock. Classic guitar rock is great guitar-driven rock of the 60s, 70s, and 80s. You know what else? Rick Springfield, Jesse's Girl. It's in my rotation. Is it a pop song? Absolutely. But it's a great guitar song. The Outfield, my playlist is littered with The Outfield because it's great guitar rock. Guitar pop. Pop is not a dirty word. If it's got guitars in it and I like it, it'll get played. Again, hope that clarified. If you haven't listened to the Classic Guitar Rock radio station yet, do it. Just do it. Give it an hour. Give it an hour. I guarantee you, if you listen for an hour, you'll go, I like this. I like this. So that's my challenge and my invitation to you. Listen to it for an hour. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in today for the update. Enjoy the eclipse. It might be over by now. I'm going to run out and check. We'll do this all again tomorrow. Thanks so much. Live long and prosper.